So if I realized if I'm going to chase my dream or not chase my dream, nothing is secure. Why would I spend my life taking a safe route that can be taken out from underneath me? They were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm not fulfilled. I got to go do something different.
So like I became a nerd when it came to sales, like the psychology of selling, the psychology of buying behavior. And I didn't have a lot of money because I was only making 24 grand a year, but I read a shit ton of books. I went to some conferences.
And the only way that I'm going to figure out if it works or not is if I go 100% all in. I moved to a town where I didn't know anyone, and I started a company I've never done anything before.
And I just love sales. Like I love the psychology of selling and talking to people. And hey, when I say this, what does it hit? And how do they respond? And then what do I need to respond back? And so I just became a nerd with it, got really, really great at it. And then all of a sudden it became a talent, but it became a talent that I enjoyed.
My grandfather worked for the largest business in the world, General Motors. And when he was in his late 70s, that's when they were going bankrupt, and his pension got cut. His life insurance went from hundreds of thousands down to $5,000. Everyone listening to this call is going to be affected by Social Security. We are forced to pay Social Security tax. If you don't think you're paying it, look at your paycheck that says FICA. If you're a business owner, then you know you're paying this self-employment tax. Not only are you taxed on it, you're taxed on the way out, and it's bankrupt, by the way. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cash Flow Conversations. Today we have a special guest from Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas. It's a big difference. Kansas City, Missouri, Mr. Michael Weaver, who is part owner of Weaver Sales Academy with, get this, his wife. I don't know if you've heard about working with family, but managing that relationship in business and at home, we got a lot to talk about. Mike, it's good to have you here, man.
Hey, thanks, brother. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we met at an industry event over a couple of cocktails and some cigars, and got to talking about what you do for the financial industry. And Weaver Sales Academy is a few years old now, but you guys specialize in basically, from what I understand, is helping advisors grow their business. If you could sum up Weaver Sales Academy, how would you sum that up?
Yeah, really simple. So we help agency owners, so specifically insurance agency owners in the personal lines business, so auto, fire, life, get their time back, their energy back, and help them make more money. And how we do that is we created an online sales school for insurance professionals to take the training off of the business owner's plate, and we can get their new hires up and selling in less than 10 days, and a lot of other interesting things going on with Weaver Sales Academy. I mean, the average tenured producer that joins us sees an increase in production in 40% in the first 90 days of working with us. So ultimately, our job is just to give business owners time back, energy back, and help them make more money.
What was their increase on average?
40% in the first 90 days in auto, fire, and life insurance production.
Wow, 40% in 90 days. That should be part of your, if it's not, I mean, is that part of your offer, like up front?
So we do offer like a free, like free trial. Yeah.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, man. Getting results for people. And I think I want to talk a little bit about your background and how you got into this, because to me, in the insurance industry, I think the biggest problem, which you probably recognize, is that while an agent might consider themselves a business owner, they're really a solopreneur. They're just a sales rep, and creating a business out of that is a much different step than just going out and making sales. So before we get into all that, because I know you could talk at length, I want to learn a little bit more about Michael. How did you get involved in the insurance industry in the first place? Were you an agent at one point?
Yeah, definitely an agent. So a little bit about my background. So I needed an internship to graduate college, transparently. So I actually was going to school to be a lawyer. And so in 2009, I was going into my senior year, skipped going to Panama City Beach and partying my ass off, and instead went around knocking on bankers' doors, law firms, and then a couple insurance agents. And the bankers' doors and the law firms, they felt like funeral homes when I walked into them. I'm like, there's no way I'm spending a summer here. Because it feels like, it's like these people are terrible. Walked into a couple insurance agents, same thing, felt like a funeral home, but I did luck into one insurance agency. They kind of were a younger group of individuals, high vibes. I'm like, okay, I could do this. But the problem is the agency owner was like, come back after you graduate college. And I'm like, well, that's the problem. I need an internship to graduate college. So I actually showed up at his door the next morning after the interview when he told me, basically, kick rocks, kid, come back next year, and showed up and was like, hey, I'm going to show up here every single day until you give me a position. So he gave me a position part-time. brought me in as their marketing specialist, which actually meant cold caller and doing everything like errand boy. But I wouldn't say I fell in love with it, but when I left, he offered me a position, showed me a paycheck. He's like, I get 2 of these a month. And it was more than my parents made in like 6 or 7 months. So I'm like, I think I could probably do this. And so when I graduated college, took a producer role in his agency and then opened a agency 3 years later.
Beautiful. Who's your main carrier that you went with?
So at that point in time, I was representing State Farm.
Okay. And how long were you with State Farm?
So as a producer, started there in 2009, and then we opened our scratch agency. So my wife and I opened the agency in 2014, and then we exited the agency along with 3 other businesses back in 2022 to focus on coaching and training full time, which is what we do now.
So was she an agent with you?
Yeah. Yep. So we started together from day one. So we got married, long story short, we got married in February of 2014, opened the agency together in April of 2014. And the original plans were that she was going to keep her W-2 job. But after we got married, we're like, let's just do this together. And so in about a 6-week time frame, she quit her job, got licensed, and we started. And we probably shouldn't even been given the agency because we only had $5,000 to our name at that point in time. But we burnt the boats, went all in, and made it work.
See, dude, that's what I love about talking to entrepreneurs. That leap of faith is 100% on you, and you guys aren't going to let it fail.
You got to believe it. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you better have a deep belief in yourself, and you better be willing to, especially those first few years, grind, put in the work. You got to make the sacrifices, and you got to have that constant communication of vision as well, because things, as you know, like they're going to be tough. You're going to be wading through a lot of shit before you get to greener pastures. So, but I wouldn't change anything about working with my spouse, as we were kind of talking before we went live, because the great thing about working with Courtney the entire time, with every business we've ever owned, we've always been partners in every business. And while it can get difficult at times, because early on we were talking about work nonstop, which was not healthy for our relationship. So as we've grown, we've understand, hey, we need to have certain points throughout the day that, hey, work talk is shut off. And so we implemented that probably really early on in our career. But the best thing about working with a spouse is you're aiming towards a vision together, and you have an understanding of what's going on within the business, the stressors, the money, the financing, the customers, and having that level of clarity amongst each other has made us stronger together, because we still have the same vision. We have the why, and we have an understanding of what's going on within the business that's causing the stressors. So by understanding that, it actually has helped our relationship, because then we don't allow those to be a stressor on a relationship. Whereas I've worked with a lot of clients just coaching one-on-one, and when they try to communicate to the spouse what's going on, it's really hard for a spouse that's not actually in the business to understand like those stressors that you as the business owner are having. And so I wouldn't change a thing. Like I love working with my spouse. We work together literally every single day because we run a remote business. So we're in the house every day together working, and I love it, man.
That's awesome. So when you guys started and she quit the W-2, what was plan B?
We didn't have a plan B.
Boom! I was hoping you would say that.
I don't think you can have a plan B. Anybody that ever has a plan B, they always have to go back to plan B, in my experience. Like,
because you're focused on like what you go back on. You keep looking back, like, well, I could go do the safe route. I could go do that.
Nope. There's no plan B. Like, if you're gonna go all in, I'm a firm believer. If you have a goal, you have to go all in. You have to burn the boats. There is no backup plan. It's like we do this shit and we make it work, or we fall flat on our faces. But there is no backup plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Jim Carrey gave a speech one time at a college, and he said that, he grew up with a conservative family in Canada, and his dad was a tax, like a CPA basically. And he lost his job in his mid 50s. The dad did. And he goes, here's a guy who played it safe his whole life.
Yep.
Worked for someone else. And then they said, we don't need you anymore. And they cut him off. He goes, so if I realized if I'm going to chase my dream or not chase my dream, nothing is secure. Why would I spend my life taking a safe route that can be taken out from underneath me? And I just vibe with that so well, because when I quit architecture and moved to Chicago, the people who loved me cried. They were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm not fulfilled. I got to go do something different. And the only way that I'm going to figure out if it works or not is if I go 100% all in. I moved to a town where I didn't know anyone. My roommate I had met twice. We had mutual friends, so I kind of knew of him, but I only met him twice. And I started a company I've never done anything before. Sales of garage flooring and cabinetry and garage design had nothing to do with architecture, and doubled the income in 9 months.
Yeah, man.
No plan B. But in the back of my mind, I thought, if I fail, I'll just go back to do what I was doing. Like, how horrible would that be? But I knew I didn't want to do that, so I'm looking this way the whole time.
So I actually have a personal story it's very similar to the one you just shared with Jim Carrey, and it's actually why I got into the insurance space, to help people out with their money, to make sure that they're always reliant on their own selves and not relying on somebody else for their financial future. Like, as I kind of hinted at earlier, I grew up in a very blue collar family. My dad was a pension worker. My mom managed a local small business owner's business. But during the 07, 08 downturn, my dad's pension actually got cut by about 75%. And when he could retire, got actually extended by about 15 years. And then fast forward 10 more years, his company actually went bankrupt. And so he did everything right. He went into the pension job, dedicated he worked a lot. And then to just have your retirement cut by 75% that you had put into, and then they invested irresponsibly. That just showed me, because I would have been in college at that point in time. And I was like, I never want to rely on anyone for my own financial future. Like, I want to be in charge of my own financial future. And shit, if this doesn't work, I'll go start another business and make it work. Like, it's just one of those things that I always want to be in charge of my own income. And I wanted to teach others. You don't have to be an entrepreneur for this, but you need to be putting money away. You need to be paying your future self. You need to be in charge of your own financial future and not expecting or relying on anybody else to save you in the future, because nothing is guaranteed except for what you have in place.
My grandfather worked for the largest business in the world, General Motors. At one point, it was the largest business. And when he was in his late 70s, that's when they were going bankrupt and got bailed out. And his pension got cut. His life insurance went from hundreds of thousands down to $5,000. And for better or worse, that was when he got dementia, and he probably lived about 8 months, maybe a year after all that. And so he didn't really know what was going on. And thank goodness, because that's the biggest company in the world. You would think that you'd have nothing to worry about, right? You put in your 40 years and you're good. You know what that reminds me of too? That everyone listening to this call is going to be affected by Social Security.
Oh, yeah.
We are forced to pay Social Security tax. If you don't think you're paying it, look at your paycheck that says FICA. If you're an independent, if you're a business owner, then you know you're paying this self-employment tax. Not only are you taxed on it, you're taxed on the way out, and it's bankrupt, by the way. Like, the fact that it's not huge mainstream in your face, like, hey, by the way, if you're going to retire, it's set to be bankrupt by 2032 or something, but there's already no money in it. They're expected to refill it up, and have it last a few years. How are they going to refill it? You don't have enough new workers to take care of the older workers. And with life expectancy getting longer, it's another thing that, you're forced to pay into. If we would have just bought an index fund with the money that we would have given to Social Security, you would have a great deal more than what you would have in payout that Social Security is going to give you. Because, by the way, on the payout of Social Security, here's how they're going to make it back. This is my opinion. And the reason this is valuable is for entrepreneurs who take responsibility for what they do, right? And so this is what you learn when you saw your parents. I saw my family go through it. It's like, I got to control my own outcome. Well, on the way out, Social Security becomes taxable if you make over like $44,000 a year, which that number does not rise with inflation. If you make over $44,000 a year, 85% of your Social Security is taxed as ordinary income. By the way, your Social Security, half of your Social Security goes towards the $44,000 calculation. And they're taxing it at ordinary income rates. So they're going to say, oh, here's your Social Security. By the way, we're going to give it back to us here on, when you do your tax return. And that's how they're going to refill. And they're going to say the wealthy don't need Social Security. You make too much money, you don't need your Social Security check. I wish we out now said, could I, if we have the opportunity to opt out of Social, like if I could opt out of that extra 15% tax. And then you ever heard of the donut hole? We're kind of going on a tangent here, but you ever heard of the donut hole?
I don't know if I have or not.
Okay, so when you pay Social Security on up to 135,000 of income. Okay, and then above that, you don't pay any Social Security tax. There's no self-employment tax. What they're talking about is saying if you make over 400, they're going to add on that tax again, the extra 15% above 400. So there's this gap where there's nothing, and then if you make a bunch of income, so my pushback is always they don't tax the rich, they tax your ability to get rich, and they make it hard as hell because they're taking the fun out of it.
Well, you just use the magic word tax. Everyone's Our taxes are going to have to increase, or social, and even if we increase it, I really don't know if that will save Social Security. So we're going to have some politicians make some tough decisions that people aren't going to like, but that's going to be the only thing that saves our Social Security and, quite frankly, our financial system moving forward. So if an individual is concerned about the future, you better take your own finances in your own hands, because the U.S. is in an interesting position right now with their financial system.
That's putting it nicely. Interesting.
Terrible position then. How about that? Terrible.
Yeah. And by the time people listen to this, I mean, who knows who's going to be, this is before the election year in 2024. And Kamala is running on the idea too of taxing long-term gains before you realize the gain, which would have massive impacts and create tons of volatility in the market and disincentivize people to save, which I think you should invest elsewhere anyway, but it would create chaos in the market for the middle America.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So anyway, all right, back to you guys wanted to do this to take control. And my favorite part, you had no plan B. You said, I'm gonna make this work. Because even if you just made the status quo of where you were before, but you're doing it on your own, there's a sense of fulfillment and pride there that you can take ownership of that success, and you're only going to compound that over time. So it's cool that you and Courtney were on the same page with that. What was her W-2 before this?
So she worked at a few different places just as management and in sales as well. So she was in sales as well. So it was, we both had a sales background, and there was no way I couldn't make, I guess as an entrepreneur, sometimes those first years you don't make very much money, but man, as a producer working for an agent, learning the ropes, I was working 70 to 80 hours a week, making 24 grand a year, baby. Like, so there was no like worst case scenario. It's like, shit, I'm already working. I'm already burning it at both ends. Let's just burn it at both ends for myself.
I know. I got to find one of those guys to hire right now in my agency. That would be great.
Don't do that, man. Pay people their worth. Pay people their worth.
I agree with that. Okay, so you got really good at sales. My book is all about this, the entrepreneur's asset. The easiest way to increase your income is to go into sales, selling somebody else's product, and then create a business from there once you understand how things actually work. But the money that you earn doesn't go towards lifestyle. It goes towards the tools and getting better. So what led you to start the Sales Academy? Is it because your sales were out phenomenal, or did you get sick and tired of running the day-to-day of a PNC operation, or what was it?
No, man, I loved being an insurance professional, and that love kind of died down as I started the coaching. So really what provoked the coaching was, so we had a top 100 agency in the company every year out of 20,000 plus agents. And so I got approached by a ton of agents for help, and I was coaching for free. But within these coaching, so I had over 450 calls in an 18-month period, anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours long. And I discovered 3 to 5 similar pain points in almost every conversation. And I was like, wow, why don't we just create a product that helps eliminate, maybe we can't eliminate all 5, but we can eliminate 3 of the 5. And so that's how Weaver Sales Academy was actually first formed. And then instead of trying to scale the business from the very get-go, I wanted to make sure what we did actually work. So I hooked up with 20 different agents in different areas. So like I had somebody in Long Island, New York, and then I had somebody in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, with a population of 2,000 people, just to make sure it worked. And so out of those 20, 18 of the 20 more than 4x their production year over year, and had the best years they had ever had. And I was like, this stuff works. And so that's when then we decided to kind of go at it full time. COVID was actually a blessing for us, because most people in the training and coaching space were doing traditional training and coaching, to where the only way they could help you is if they went to your brick and mortar. Whereas we had created the online sales school. So it's like an on-demand system for sales professionals. And we were doing live trainings virtually already. So COVID actually, we blew up. And then in 2022, we decided, hey, let's just go all in on this. This is where our passion is. This is where my fire is. Like that same burning passion and fire that I had when I opened the insurance agency. That's what I wake up with every single day with Weaver Sales Academy. Like, I love training, I love coaching, I love working with business owners and entrepreneurs. So we exited 4 of our businesses at that time in 2022, went all in on Weaver Sales Academy. It's been great, man. I mean, we're working with over 5,000 insurance professionals across the country right now, taking the training off their plate and always looking to add additional value. So I love what I do. I love. It was crazy because we walked away from a really good income, but what I thought is like, do I continue to do what I'm doing because it's comfortable, or do I pursue a passion that also has a higher ceiling from an income standpoint? And so it was hard getting rid of that. I mean, we got rid of over $500,000 to $600,000 in net income a year with those other businesses. Went into coaching. We've more than replaced that now, and it's been a lot of fun.
Unbelievable. Talk to me about the fulfillment side. There's this, I don't know this guy's name, and I keep seeing these clips in his new book talks about don't follow your passion, follow your talent. What are you good at, and how to make money at what you're good at. And then you have permission to follow talent or to follow passion. And you were able to, you said in the beginning, you didn't fall in love with with insurance, but you liked the process, and he gave you a heck of an opportunity. It just so happened you were talented in that area, and you really made it work for you. And then you found what you were passionate about through the success of the other thing.
So I wouldn't even say I was talented in the beginning when I got the opportunity with the agent, because I invested a ton into myself. So like every day for 18 months in a row on the way to work and the way home from work, I listened to Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Selling on my CD and my 2008 4-cylinder Malibu, baby. Like, let's roll. I mean, the first date I went on with Courtney,
I haven't seen any of those cars on the road in years, dude.
So literally the first date I went on with Courtney, she got in the car and I had Brian Tracy on. She's like, what is this? I'm like, this is my man BT, baby. We're learning today. So, but it's that skill set. So like I became a nerd when it came to sales, like the psychology of selling, the psychology of buying behavior. And I didn't have a lot of money because I was only making 24 grand a year, but I read a shit ton of books. I went to some conferences. And then as I started to make more money, I invested even more in myself. And so I developed the skill, and I just love sales. Like I love the psychology of selling and talking to people. And hey, when I say this, what does it hit? And how do they respond? And then what do I need to respond back? And so I just became a nerd with it, got really, really great at it. And then all of a sudden it became a talent, but it became a talent that I enjoyed. So not only was it a talent, but it became a passion. And then my passion became helping other business owners that were struggling, specifically in sales and their sales producers, because most sales producers have really high turnover. So how can I help these sales producers see success within the first 90 days of their career, which helps them be successful, which in return helps the business owner with higher retention on their team, which helps them make way more money. That's what Weaver Sales Academy is all about, is turning salespeople into sales professionals to help them have a more fulfilling and meaningful career. And I get to do what I do every single day, and I freaking love it, man. Like training and coaching, as you can see, I'm getting fired up just talking about it, but man, I freaking love what I do every single day. So not only is it a talent, but it's a passion.
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what's fun about what you're doing is that you can see the immediate impact. And the fact that you keep saying, here's the timeline, within 90 days, you're going to get X. And you know, that fulfillment comes from the impact that you see of the success that other people are having so quickly.
Oh yeah, man. We stay in constant contact. So that's one unique thing about our training is so everyone has my business cell phone number, so our community number. And so every week we're like, hey, share a win. Every month I'm like, hey, share your production. So because sometimes business gets hard. Like, even though I love what I do, I want to see results. I want to see like production. I want to see productive. I want to see that what I'm doing is helping others. And so every week I'm getting shots in the arm with people being like, had the best week I've ever had. Or every month they're like, yo, I just had the best month I've ever had, and I've only been with you for 6 weeks. It's like, hell yeah, baby, let's go.
I love it. How do you have them share their wins? Is it a group setting where they can give like a community where they all log into, or?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook group, but also so like our community text program. So a part of our system, like I tell every agency owner that works with me, like I want to be a partner in your business. So every Friday, I send out a, hey, share a win with me this week, no matter how big or how small, trying to help them create that winning culture in their office of, hey, no matter how big or how small the win, it's still a win. So we get wins every single week, and then we shout them out in our community group the next week. And then every month, again, we get the production numbers from the agents, and then we'll shout out all the agencies with like record months and all that good stuff.
On the Facebook group?
Yep.
Beautiful. How did you bring the digital products to market? Did you have your own website? Did you leverage a third party?
Man, that's been a learning. So it is my own web. Yeah, it's our own website. We've worked with a ton of third-party vendors throughout the years. We have the best core team we've ever had. So one of the best things that I ever did from a business owner standpoint was my wife and I hired a COO to help us because we're both creatives, quite frankly. So we're very much a creative. I can get down in the trenches of processes and systems, but we hired a COO, and then we hired an EA. And those are the two best, I would say, decisions and investments we've ever made in our business, which have allowed me and Courtney to do what we do best. So Courtney's specialty is marketing. My specialty is more of the training, coaching, face to face. So that allowed me and her to get more time back to do the things that we enjoyed and the things that we were good at versus being in the business operations all the freaking time. And those two positions, while they're hefty investments, man, I wouldn't change it because it's allowed us to propel our business and be able to create new things for our business that we didn't have 2 years ago.
That's beautiful. That leads into the idea of an agency versus an agent. You know, the business owner, solopreneur, who's like a one-man band or a one-woman shop. So your ideal client is an agency, right? You would want to work with the agency general agent who can then take your products and provide it to his agents.
Yeah, I mean, so a majority of individuals we work with, we do work with some agents that are just getting into the business, solopreneurs just getting started, because we help them with their processes and systems, sales conversation, get them up. I mean, it's even easier for them to make their ROI back because it's an investment in themselves. But I would tell you 99% of our clients are agency owners with a team of probably a minimum team of 3 to 4 people. And then our largest customer, I think, has 50, 60 sales people. So, yeah, man, it's a wide variety, but that's the best thing is we built a product that no matter how big or how small you are, you're going to see benefits from it. But hitting back at your solopreneur, there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. If you want to be a one-man band, customer facing all the time, that's fine. In my opinion, that's like you're signing up for a job. Although it's a job, but it's a job you own, and there's nothing wrong with that. We wanted to create a business, and even in an agency, I wanted to create a business that allowed me freedom, flexibility, allowed me to drive production through team, lead a team, scale a business. And so there's no right or wrong way to do it. But in my opinion, if you're looking for the freedom and flexibility and income that a business can really have, in my opinion, or a business owner, if freedom and flexibility is important to you, then you have to have great people alongside you, because in my opinion, you never get to the top alone. And the easiest way to build a great business is through great people.
So you kind of talked about this already, but maybe you can go a little more. For a solopreneur listening, that maybe they're not in an agency yet because they think they can make more money on their own. They're creating a ceiling, which they kind of maybe don't want to admit to themselves, but they know that they can't scale their time. What would the number one or two things that you think a solopreneur should look into sooner than later to get out of that mentality?
Business coaching. Easy. Business coaching, and then surrounding yourselves with peers that have a business that you would want to have in the future, and learning from their mistakes, because everybody's made a ton of mistakes along the way. Specifically, when you start hiring people and building a business to scale, you're going to make a ton of mistakes. You're going to have a lot of decisions to make. You're going to have to acquire new skill sets. And that's why I recommend a coach along the way, because they're going to help you with those skill sets as you go. And you're going to be able to turn to somebody that's a professional that's done what you've to help you with the decisions that you're going to have to make to scale that business. So I would say investing in yourself from a leadership and sales standpoint, and then surrounding yourself with 3 to 5 peers that you know are just crushing it, have the type of business that you would want to have, and learn from them.
I love it. And so when you say business coach, does Weaver Sales Academy have a business coaching aspect like that, or is it strictly sales?
So we advertise sales. I do a little bit of one-on-one coaching with business owners for that, but I don't advertise it a lot. I love it, but when you are coaching one-on-one, it takes time. And that's the one thing that you can't get back. And so while I do love it, I also love my freedom and flexibility and having choices. And because look, there are some coaches out there that will reschedule it, whatever. Like, I'm the type of guy, like, integrity is my core value. When I say where I'm going to show up, I'm going to show up. And so I coach 5 clients right now, one-on-one. And that's pretty much my max that I coach, just because I don't want a ton of obligations from a time standpoint to get in the way if I want to go to Europe for a month. Like, yeah. I want to be able to just do my thing. But there's a ton of great business coaches out there that, whether you're in the life insurance space, you're in the insurance space, whatever space you're in, I guarantee that there are lots of coaches out there. My only tip is vet the coach. Vet them. Make sure they're legit. Make sure that they've helped other people in your space. Make sure that they are who they say they are, because there are a ton. Coaching since COVID has kind of blown up, and I actually think the coaching and training space is watered down currently. I believe that everybody and their dog is a coach and trainer these days. So just make sure you're vetting the people that you decide to pay money to make sure they're actually who they say they are and they have a track record of success.
I think that is so true. I think the market has been so saturated with online coaches. It's laughable. There's a guy on Instagram that I follow, Baller Busters. You ever heard of this guy? Dude, Mm-mm. It's funny. He will call out these multi-million-dollar, coaches on what's really happening based on client experiences and like behind the scenes and lawsuits that are now public. I think he's a lawyer. And I'm like 90% sure he's a lawyer. And he just goes after these people that are about the fake facade that they put online. You can rent a Lamborghini for the day, stand in front of it and say, pay me $7,000 for coaching. They'll make, $50,000 in the day, and they don't have any track record. And they're just compounds. I got suckered into that years ago for some dumb marketing thing. Gosh, in 2018. And paid like $5,000 for the stupidest, you don't even get anything out of it. So I agree with you, vet, especially in the world of digital BS that exists out there.
Yeah. And here's the thing is I'm a very positive, optimistic individual. So I have the thought process that every coach and trainer is doing a great job and they're doing it for the right reasons. But that doesn't mean that you still shouldn't vet them. Like, hey, send me 3 referrals of people you've worked with that you've changed their business and their life. Let me just reach out to them and see what's going on. Like, vet the people that you're working with. What does your work record look like? And even if they brag about how much money they make, hey, let me see your tax return from last year.
Yeah. It's very, very true, especially when you're selling a one-on-one service like that.
Yeah.
I heard through the grapevine that you had written a book recently.
Yeah, man. The grapevine is correct. So yeah, brother, I had it was another passion project that I got lucky enough. So my first book I wrote during COVID. It was just I wrote it, put it out there to the public, did awesome. But this one was actually a published deal. So I'm very excited about it. But I wrote a book called Quote 3, How to Make Multiple 6 Figures in Any Sales Organization. So it doesn't matter.
What's it called? Code 3?
Quote 3. Yep. Quote 3. How to make multiple 6 figures in any sales organization, because I have a passion again for helping sales professionals. And in my opinion, sales is made out to be much more difficult than it actually has to be. It's like when you get started in sales, they give you like a phone book. They're like, make the calls, figure it out. All right. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. And one lie that I was always told in sales was, well, if you want to be more successful, just do more, just make more calls, just work more hours, just spend more money, just hire more people. When in all reality, it's not about doing more, because more of the wrong thing just equates to more of the wrong things. And so it's figuring out the right things to do, the right people to target, the right prospecting and marketing methods. What does a great conversation sound like that converts a prospect into a paying customer? And then how do we drive referrals from every single customer? And here's the thing. To make multiple six figures in any sales organization, mathematically, I've tested this with over 10,000 sales professionals. It takes 3 quality conversations a day. That's it. 3 conversations a day, and you're going to make multiple six figures in any sales organization. I don't care if you're in life insurance, you're probably making 7 figures. So life insurance, insurance sales, selling private jets, you're in direct sales, multi-level marketing. It doesn't matter. This book is for you. So it actually comes out on October 7th. I would love if you pre-ordered some. I believe that this book is going to help every sales professional in the country, and I believe it will revolutionize the sales industry and how people think about sales and how it goes from complicated to simple overnight if you just implement the strategies that I wrote about in this book.
I love it, man. I think you're totally right. I heard somebody talking the other day about, people that are passionate about something. I really love doing that. And then they do the thing like once a month. I love fishing. And then they go fishing twice a year. Well, you don't love it. Well, it's only for the professionals are the ones that love it. And the amateurs who say they love it don't love it. And if you love sales or you love your business or you love your family and you want to take care of them, that means you got to go produce. And people sit in their office and complain that they don't have leads or they don't have anyone to talk to. Go out in the world. Go get a cup of coffee and introduce yourself to someone walking by. It's so easy to have 3 conversations a day.
Yep. Oh yeah, man. I believe that this book will not only help people that have been in sales, but I believe it is the first book that any sales organization should have their new people read. Period. And if you're a sales manager and you're managing sales teams, this book is for you because it's going to teach you exactly the KPIs that you should be focused on to actually drive results versus all the other bullshit activities that you've got your team doing. Like, let's actually simplify what actually moves the needle. And you can find that book at quote3book.com or just go to Amazon, type in quote 3 Michael Weaver. It'll pop up. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you asking me about it because I'm fired up and I believe it's going to change a lot of people's lives.
I love it. So I'm going to put a link in the description so anyone listening or watching can go to the website. It's quote and then the number 3.
Yep.
.com.
Quote3book.com.
Quote3book.com. And you can go there and pre-order it.
Yes, sir.
Love it. Hopefully we can get you some pre-orders and help people change their lives.
That'd be great, man. I'd appreciate it.
Well, thank you for chatting with me today, man. And tell Courtney I said hello. Hope she's doing well. And how do you want to leave this for people who are nervous to take the leap and walk away from a W-2?
Yeah.
They might not know how to get started. They just know they got to do something different. What would you say to that person?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'd love to connect with you. So make sure you connect with me on any social media platform. If you're in the insurance space, we have a podcast called The Insurance Buzz. And if you are someone that's considering going into entrepreneurship, business ownership, I believe the only way that you're going to know if it's right for you or if you can have success with it is if you just bite the bullet. It's like when you learn how to swim. You can read about swimming all day long, but you're not actually going to learn how to swim until you jump in the lake. So you better jump in, go full bore, burn the boats, no backup plans, believe in yourself, invest in yourself. That is where I see all the best business owners and entrepreneurs, those that are in the top 20% making all the 80% of the money. They consistently invest in themselves. They're consistent learners. They're consistent growers. And what I mean by that is they're reading books. They're listening to podcasts. They're getting around other high performers out there that have businesses just like they have. They're going to conferences and learning from the best in networking. So if you're considering it, just do it. See if it's for you. And the only way you're going to do that is by going all in, baby.
I love it. All right. Weaver Sales Academy. What's your Instagram handle?
Weaver. So you can actually look up just Michael Weaver.
Michael Weaver.
Yep. So Michael Weaver, and then Weaver Sales Academy for any insurance agent out there that's looking to get their time and energy back and make some more money, take the training off your plate. Because I know you don't like to do the training anyways. Hit me up, Weaver Sales Academy. You can go to weaversa.com or again, just hit me up on Michael Weaver on any platform. I love LinkedIn myself. LinkedIn is kind of my platform of choice. So would love to connect with you and help you out.
Love it. Michael, thank you so much for being here, my friend. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Matt.